Hi, I'm Tracy Jennings, Technology, Information, Communications, Media and Entertainment Leader of PwC in Canada.
And I'm Michael Patterson, a partner in PwC's Entertainment Media Practice.
Our entertainment and media practitioners are very focused on bringing key trends and insights to the clients that they work with. Today we're very pleased to talk about one of our key publications. It's unique not only because it looks at forward-looking forecasts, but also because it's been brought together through the insights of our entertainment and media practitioners around the world, working with companies in the entire ecosystem.
This is the 13th year we've published the Outlook, and it provides a 5-year forecast from 2012 to 2016 of spending in 13 key segments, both in advertising and consumer spending. The theme this year is the end of the digital beginning, and really what we're seeing is companies having transitioned to digital, or at least knowing they need to, significantly changing their business models.
So we're going to give you a short glimpse of the key trends in our publication. Globally, we all know in the near term economic prospects are mixed. Overall, we are forecasting that the entertainment and media industry will lag nominal GDP growth due to an ongoing consumption shift to lower priced digital distribution. We've all been talking about this disruption for a number of years, and with the explosive growth in tablets and smartphones, the reality is now here. Traditional companies are adapting their business models and new entrants are emerging. Mike, it's a 5-year forecast. How did we do on what we said 5 years ago about where we would be today?
Well, it was 5 years ago I did my first presentation of our forecast, and these are actual quotes from my notes. We said mobile TV would be a $100 million subscription business. It's not today, but the importance of distributing content via mobile devices certainly played out in Canada with the recent acquisition of the broadcasters by the telecom companies. We now believe an ad-supported model generating $65 million of revenue will develop, and premium content such as sports will attract subscription revenue of over $10 million. Internet advertising, we said that would be 19% of the Canadian advertising market. It's now 22%, and it was only 11% 5 years ago. The power of search, which advertises close to a potential buying decision, has resulted in over 20% growth per year. We'll touch on this in a minute. IPTV rollouts are well underway in larger cities. We expect this to continue with IPTV reaching just under 10% penetration in 5 years. Video on demand will continue to take dollars, but as we will learn, over the top will have a significant impact going forward. And finally, there's been no shortage of high-cost sports rights deals. For example, with MLC being acquired by Bell & Rogers, sports will play an important part in the economy going forward. But that was 5 years ago. What will happen in the next 5 years, Tracy?
One of the key benefits of the Outlook is to compare and contrast where we are globally. We know it's important for our Canadian companies to think global. How do we think Canada will do? As you can see, Canada is faring well compared to the US and slightly ahead of our global forecasted growth of 5.7%. Not surprisingly, our higher broadband penetration rates of 92% continue to translate into growth in internet access and advertising. We also expect Canada's television subscription and license fee market to grow faster than the US, reflecting fewer players and our market size.
Globally, the BRIC countries show the direct linkage of the economy and the advertising market, and also the constraints of regulation. A few interesting stories. We see the Russian TV advertising market averaging 12% growth over the next 5 years, and it will become the largest TV ad market in Europe, overtaking the UK and Germany. And this is despite beer advertising being banned in that country next year. Could you imagine that in Canada? China, we see TV advertising growing at 9% over 5 years, and this is despite the government banning all advertising in soap operas, which last year made up 70% of television advertising revenue. Mobile penetration rate in China will grow from 35 to 73%, and that will have a significant impact on opportunities for companies. China and India will together add 135 million television subscriptions over the next 5 years, and this is despite ongoing piracy issues. But Tracy, while understanding what is happening outside Canada is interesting and important, I think we want to hear more about Canada.
We asked the attendees of our Canadian launch and want to ask you now, what do you think the fastest growing segment will be over the next 5 years? Video game spending, television advertising, television subscriptions, out-of-home advertising, and filmed entertainment. Here's what they said.
So let's see see if you all agree. I thought it might be video games.
When we look at what our forecasts do say, television subscriptions comes out on top, growing from $8.8 billion to $13.4 billion. Subscription spending, as we know, remained immune to the economic decline. While we are seeing cable subscription rates slightly decline, growth will come from video on demand and over the top, where we are seeing modest impact of Netflix and Hulu in terms of number of subscribers, but we know competition in this space is coming. In Canada, we have increased spending on subscriptions over the last few years, which we expect to continue. We anticipate with fewer competitors in the Canadian market, our subscription rates will grow faster than the US. When we look at conventional TV, it's really remained the same as it was in 2006. Over to you, Mike. Tell us about some of the moneymakers.
Well, within the advertising segments, we see internet advertising growing the fastest at 15.7% annually per year and will overtake television advertising in 2014. Within this, online video will be growing the fastest at 33%, becoming a $300 million market in Canada in 2016. However, display and search remain the largest components of the internet market, at each being a $2 billion market. Yes, CPMs are dropping, and we see challenges in the banner business, lots of noise, issues around measuring effectiveness, excess inventory in a highly fragmented market. However, there are large dollars available, and we see opportunity. Within television advertising, we see strong growth at 5.4%, and it is still the largest today at $3.8 billion and will be a $4.9 billion market in 2016. Despite softness in 2012, television still has big reach and the power of live events, including sporting events and the Olympics, and revenues will continue to grow. We see tablets, social media, and technology actually increasing the amount of TV that people watch, and concerns about PVR skipping has plateaued as incremental viewers offset those who skip commercials. Penetration of PVRs has actually leveled off at about 15%. Radio out of home will continue to see strong growth, especially from their local-based businesses. And finally, online newspaper advertising will grow, and this is despite paywalls in Canada coming up this fall. As we look to the south, the Wall Street Journal has been successful in paywalls, attracting 500,000 subscribers, and people believe in the power of newspapers, especially in local community-based papers. Warren Buffett recently, in fact, bought a group of community-based papers in the United States. We see a $25 million subscription market in the newspaper business. Curated content remains important. Tracy, these are all advertising stories, but what about consumer spending?
Well, Mike, I would say the most interesting story this year on the consumer end user spending side is ebooks. The growth in tablets and other devices to enable e-readers is reaching a real tipping point. We forecast spending will almost triple to $400 million in 2016 from $130 million in 2012. We've all seen ebooks become mainstream. We forecast consumer books overall will be essentially flat, but ebooks will explode, comprising almost 40% of the consumer book market at the end of the forecast period. Over-the-top streaming will also grow significantly, 18% from $406 million to $704 million. Renting physical movies is a thing of the past. The new norm is video on demand, Netflix, iTunes, and other models like Cineplex. Competition from over-the-top services will be increasing as we see new entrants into the market in North America, including companies such as Google, Sony, Amazon, to name a few. Digital recorded music, as expected, is continuing to grow, and we forecast the growth will exceed the decline in physical distribution. We're very pleased this year to have incorporated now live events into our publication. We know our music industry has been asking for this for a number of years. Satellite radio shows strength of the subscription model, premium content, captive audience. As we have said, it's all about niche and distribution models. But by far the biggest segment remains TV subscriptions. Mike, what's up with mobile?
Well, Tracy, the mobile advertising business is still in the experimentation phase, but we see an environment ripe for growth. A couple of key factors being in Canada, mobile internet penetration will increase from 35% to 62%. We're seeing broad LTE networks being rolled out. And as we all know, the amount of time we spend with these devices just creates opportunities. We believe innovative companies will figure out how to advertise on mobile devices, and advertising spending will quadruple from $118 million today to $420 million in 2016. And by the way, access fees will double from $2 billion to $4 billion. So that's going to be a key change. But Tracy, what else are we going to see changing?
Tying back into our key theme of our publication this year, the end of the digital beginning, we've heard a lot about the need to change business models because of technology and the consumer. What we show here is our view of what companies need to think about, where we've mapped the value chain simply into 3 buckets: content, distribution channels, and the consumer. In developing new business models, companies will continue to see the shift in value of content and the consumer. Those companies playing only in the distribution channels or the midpoint on the slide risk being marginalized or disintermediated as new technologies emerge. The shift in ebooks is a great example, as we see retail companies being disintermediated with publishers using alternative distribution channels to get their content to consumers. Understanding how consumer behavior is changing and interpreting the massive data that is being gathered about consumer preferences are becoming core skills that companies need to ensure they position themselves for future growth. Monetization, direct, or partnering with other companies to create alliances will also be key. The consumer changes in behaviors have accelerated through the economic downturn and are now fueled by the forces we've been talking about: social, mobile, and local, a key theme in our outlook. Together, these forces help companies tap into the expanded pool of value. In our 15th annual CEO survey, PwC found that 3/4 of CEOs of entertainment and media companies are either somewhat or extremely concerned about the permanent shift in consumer spending and behavior, the highest level amongst CEOs in all industries interviewed. We agree they should be. When you look at what happens online, today consumers research purchases online, but when we now consider the size of the e-commerce market growing to $16 trillion in 2013, with about 15% of all sales being online, companies need to do much more. We need to ensure we look outside Canada at the key trends, because there's going to be new global competitors that will impact our Canadian businesses. Mike, what are we seeing in our outlook around the key priorities in this business model shift?
When we talk to our clients about their priorities and challenges, these usually come near the top of the list. I'll just comment on a few. Cost optimization and process integration. Companies really need to bring digital divisions into their main enterprise and look at their platforms around digital workflow and how they, right from production to distribution. I'll give you an example in the newspaper business in terms of focusing on core activities. Toronto Star and Globe and Mail have decided to combine their physical distribution business as they view it as a non-core activity, and really they're focused on creation of content and delivering value to their customers, and this is a way to reduce cost. Another area of focus is around digital content and publishing integration. Companies really need to create efficient systems to be able to distribute content, and often they're looking to partner in this area or enter into joint ventures. So we'd like to get your input. What will be your biggest challenge to monetize digital content or earn digital advertising revenue in the next 5 years? Internal skills, resources, or systems not adequate. Consumers believe they should pay less or not pay for digitally distributed content. Piracy. Finding the right business model. The general economy.
Well, our responses to those questions were very mixed in our presentations that we've done thus far, but we would love your input. We're not going to give you an answer to that question today, but if we look at what the CEOs actually have said, we know one of the main hurdles involves getting the key talent and developing the innovative culture needed in the organizations to succeed. According to PwC's annual Global CEO Survey, E&M CEOs believe a lack of key skills is negatively impacting the industry's growth and profitability. Some 35% of E&M CEOs, compared with 24% across all sectors, say talent constraints have caused them to cancel or delay a key strategic initiative this past year, a key issue for the industry. Well, this has been a very quick highlight of some of our trends in our key publication. Living the Digital Model, our more than 800 pages is captured in our online version. Feel free to contact us for more information or connect to our website, pwc.ca/events. pwc.com/ca/EM Outlook.